What is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here. We are back with another day of sports betting. This is going to be for Wednesday, November 23rd slate of NBA action. Man, I'm super excited to dive into it. We have another full slate of basketball, and it's just beautiful. Got some absolutely beautiful matchups that we will go ahead and talk about, just a couple of them. But before we go ahead and dive into it, I did just want to go ahead and say we are still currently on the road to 9,000 subscribers. You guys have been killing it here recently. We're less than 400 subscribers away from that 9,000 mark. If we end up hitting that, we will obviously be doing a giveaway. So make sure that if you guys are new around here, make sure that you guys do like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Next, I did just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out here to all of our members here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do, and thank you guys so much for giving such a small channel such a big chance, as I always say. It truly does mean the absolute world to me, so much more than you guys will ever know. So, without any further ado, we have a lot of basketball on today. We have 4 plays, so it is going to take a little bit longer. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into a quick recap as of yesterday. Another profitable day. We've had 3 straight profitable days as of so far. So hopefully we can extend that out to 4. I ended up finding 4 plays that I like, as I mentioned. But we ended up going 2-1 on our plays yesterday. So we did end up having DeAndre Ayton over 9 rebounds versus the Lakers at minus 122 odds. Truthfully, this was no sweat whatsoever. The DeAndre Ayton really got things started pretty early. I think he finished with like 5 there in the first quarter. And then after that, by the time the third quarter hit, he was at 13. So it was an absolutely no sweat whatsoever. As I had mentioned, I did like it at 9.5 for plus value as well. So hopefully you guys did end up taking that, get a little plus value, for your plays. We also did end up having DeAnthony Melton over 15.5 points here versus Brooklyn at minus 113. This one was also pretty much a no sweat. He finishes with 22 points. He ends up scoring most of these points in the first half too. He played really well in the first half. Definitely slowed down in the second half, but it wasn't enough to keep him to just no baskets in the second half. He finished with 14 in the first half and then scores pretty early in the second. So that one ends up working out. But we did end up having Jaden Ivey over 18.5 points versus Denver at minus 115. Thought it was a pretty good spot with all those players being injured, but and out and stuff like that. But this was a Bogdanovich night, and even Kevin Knox off the bench had a great game, which is just like, what can you really do about that? But shout out Kevin Knox, great game, but just, who would have thought that he was going to be the one to really hold this one back? But, either way, we ended up going 2-1. We still had another profitable day. We still earned a little bit to our bankroll here. We ended up going up 0.71 units, so pretty solid. I'll definitely take that for sure, increasing that bankroll each and every day. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's plays though. So for our kill shot play of the day, we're taking Anthony Edwards over 23.5 points here versus Indiana at minus 120 odds. Now, he has gone over in 2 of his last 3 games, so he has been on a pretty good run here recently. He is also 5-2 to the over on the road this year. They played 7 games on the road. He has hit the over in 5 of those. He's a very good road performer for sure. And so far in his career, his very young career, he's played 2 games in Indiana, at Indiana, and he has scored 37 and 27 in each of those matchups. So I think it's a pretty good spot. He plays pretty well in the Indiana Pacers Stadium, so I think it's a pretty good spot. And he has been really aggressive here recently. He has shot 21, 20, and 20 field goal attempts in each of his last 3 games. If he's getting anywhere near that number, I think that he scores close to 30 points tonight. It's definitely a great matchup here versus the Pacers. Indiana is 8th when it comes to pace, and they play even faster at home. So, and not only is it really fast-paced in general, but it's even faster at home. Speaks a lot of volume. Should be a very fast-paced game. We have 2 very young teams that love to get up and down the floor. I think it's a pretty good spot. Also, Pacers do allow the 2nd most points per game to opposing shooting guards, with the over/under being set at 235.5. That's a very high over/under. I think Anthony Edwards is going to see most of the usage in this game. I think he's going to see most of the shots in this game. I don't see why he can't hit this over. So that is going to be our kill shot play of the day. Anthony Edwards over 23.5 points here versus Indiana at minus 120 odds. Now for our second play of the day, we're taking Anthony Simons under 24.5 points here versus the Cavs at minus 125 odds. Now I know Damian Lillard is out of this one, but Josh Hart is listed as questionable. He may end up playing, which I would love this bet even more if he ends up playing. But I think that this number is pretty inflated because let's be honest, Anthony Simons has been really, really good, but he's coming off of a 29-point game here versus the Bucks. Went absolutely ballistic. I think he comes a little bit back down to earth. 24.5 is a pretty high number, especially for a guy like Simons. Obviously, he can do it. There's no doubt about that. But before this last game versus the Bucks, he had gone under in 6 straight games. Now, some of those did have Damian Lillard in them, but he did still go under in 6 straight of them before that. And it's a really, really tough matchup here versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, who do allow the 5th fewest points per game to opposing point guards and the fewest points per game to opposing shooting guards. So I kind of listed it as that because with Damian Lillard out, I'm not sure exactly what he would classify as a point guard or a shooting guard. Either way, it doesn't matter. They don't allow a lot of points to point guards or shooting guards. I love our odds with that one. Also, both these teams play at a pretty slow pace. The Portland Trailblazers do play at the 27th pace in the entire NBA. Cleveland plays at the 19th pace. Both these are really pretty low. I mean, when all things considered. Also, Cleveland does allow the 6th fewest points per game to opposing teams just in general, and they do allow 1 fewer point per game at home. I know it's not a huge, edge for that one, but they do allow, slightly less points at home. I think it's a pretty good spot there. Cleveland also does have the 3rd best defensive efficiency in all of basketball this year and the 2nd best defensive efficiency at home this year with a 217 over-under, which is pretty low. I think it's a pretty good spot to target, so we're going to be riding with it. Hopefully Anthony Simons does come back down to earth, so that's going to be our second play of the day. Simons under 24.5 points here versus the Cavs at minus 125 odds. Now for our third play of the day, pains me to do it. We've already cashed this bet once this year, but we're going back to the well with it. Patrick Williams under 14.5 PRAs here versus Milwaukee at minus 110 odds. Now, he has already cashed once this year, as I had mentioned, but let's be honest. He has Giannis on him. There it is. That's the end of the analysis. No, I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. But still, he has a very tough matchup with Giannis. The Bucks also do allow the fewest points per game in the entire NBA to opposing power forwards, the 4th fewest rebounds per game to power forwards, and the 2nd fewest assists per game to power forwards. They don't give up a lot of stats to that position, and it's obviously because Giannis is on them most of the time. But Milwaukee's just a really good defense overall. They have the best defensive efficiency in all of basketball, and he has hit the over in 3 of his last 4. So Patrick Williams has been pretty solid, and as a Bulls fan, it does make me happy. But he's coming off of a 21 PRA game, and this line didn't move even once. And the over is only juiced to minus 120. That seems like the world's biggest trap with considering that he has hit the over in 3 of his last 4 and it stayed the exact same. And so far, Patrick Williams has not been good on the road. That is where Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan really shine. Mostly DeMar. That is where he really shines is on the road. But if you look at Patrick Williams' game logs on the road, he has had 10, 21, 13, 20, 13, 8, and 6 PRAs in his 7 road starts. So he has only hit the over in 2 of those games, and I don't really foresee that happening. The 2 games that he did hit it over were against pretty poor, very fast-paced defenses, so I think it's a pretty good spot to target here for and under. That is going to be our third play of the day. Pat Williams, under 14.5 PRAs here versus Milwaukee at minus 110. Now for our fourth and final play of the day, we are going to be taking the Atlanta Hawks minus 6 here versus the Sacramento Kings at minus 110 odds. Now I know it's really tough to bet against the Sacramento Kings right now. They are on a 7-game win streak currently. They have to lose at some point, okay? They're not going to go on this win streak forever. This is a tough matchup here versus the Hawks, and I think the Hawks can get it done. The Hawks are going to be well rested as well. Another key point. So, first things first, Sacramento is coming off of a win here versus Memphis, which we did obviously bet on in our last game. We did have a play from that game, we didn't have a play from that game, but it was a really exciting game. It came all the way down to the wire. It was definitely really, really close. So they're coming off of a win in Memphis, and they have to turn around and go all the way to Atlanta to play a game tonight in Atlanta. the Hawks have won and covered in their last 3 matchups here versus the Kings. So the history is on our side with this one as well. I think it's a pretty good spot to target. And let's be honest, let's look at the play styles of this Sacramento team. First of all, their best player, De'Aaron Fox, loves to drive to the basket. He has been a little bit better at the three-point line, but overall, he loves to drive the ball. Their second best player, Domantas Sabonis, he is definitely a back-to-the-basket type of big. He loves to play in that mid-range. He loves to play in just the paint in general. Well, I think it's going to be a tough matchup there because they're going to have guys like John Collins who can block shots. They're going to have guys like Clint Capella that can block shots. Onyeka Okongwu that can block shots, stuff like that. And I think it's going to be a tough matchup here for Sacramento. The Hawks are definitely a good team too. And when it comes to the defensive side of things here for the Hawks are a very good defensive team. I know they haven't really shown it too much this year, but overall, I mean, outside of Trae Young, they have DeJounte Murray, a good defender. They have DeAndre Hunter, a good defender. John Collins, he can be a good defender for sure. Clint Capella, definitely a good defender. So they have the pieces to be able to stop this team like Sacramento. It's just going to be a matter of if they can pull it off or not, and I think they can. So that is going to be our fourth and final play of the day. Hawks -6 here versus Sacramento at -110 odds. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys do like, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. There will not be a video as of tomorrow because it is going to be Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody that is going to be celebrating it. Hopefully you guys do have a fantastic day. Enjoy some football. We have some really good NFL matchups. We actually have a really good college matchup too in I think it's like Mississippi and Mississippi State. Should actually be a pretty good matchup there. Should be a fun game to watch for sure. But overall, thank you guys so much for watching. This is King Sanders signing out. Peace.